Many generations now, we have suffered. The Washichu we spoke to, but they don't hear. They're deaf. The women, the children, the old ones, they suffer. You from the cities, you are our warriors. Our warriors. They're deaf. We must now walk in the sacred way.
Shalom to the elect of Israel, and welcome to another installment of the final American Indian Uprising. It's Priest Ricard, Priest Manatazak. Y'all know who we are, and we're back again to further bring out the information on the tribes of Gad and Reuben. Y'all know now, it's been a while. The last show y'all saw that we filmed in Chicago with the other Reubenite brother, so-called Seminole Indian brother, Malcolm, dealing with that whole blood quantum crap. And I hope that was an informative show for a lot of you brothers out there, because the only people we're trying to reach anyway is the brothers, man, of the elect, okay? Anybody else, if you watch the show and you get some form of edification from it, fine. But our main purpose is always to try to edify the elect. That's the only people we really care about. And you already noticed already, we done said it time and time again. And like I said, as far as women, if there's any women out there that happen to see this show or any of our shows, if you're single, then that's fine. You know, and if you're sincere, which that's very rare, then maybe the time will come where the Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai will have you link up with a man of the Lord, okay? And maybe that's your way of salvation of getting out of here. But you brothers, like we always say, if you got wives and stuff like that, your wives, any so-called Israelite women that have husbands in this truth, you shouldn't be watching this show no damn way. Okay? And like we said, you brothers out there that got your women, I'm talking about brothers within GMS, your wives and shouldn't be watching the damn show anyway, man. And if you let your woman watch the show, you simple as you can be. Alright? But anyways, we're going to go into the topic. This is pretty much like a basic topic that it's been a while since we actually went into this. One of the other shows I did not too long ago was dealing with proving that the Eskimos were the tribe of Gad. And that was a damn good show, an informative show. I watched the show myself and I was pleased with the way it came out. But now we're going to go right back to the main point of which there was the whole premise of this show when we started this show back in the 90s. Proving that the American Indian people of the Americas, the indigenous people of the Americas, or the Aboriginal people of the Americas, Canada, South Central America, and the Caribbean, are the Israelites, the tribes of Gad, Reuben, let's add Issachar in there, Ephraim, the Taino and the Arawak Indians that was in the Caribbean islands, alright? The people of Canada and Alaska are the so-called, not so-called, are Israelites. Primarily we're going to focus on Gad and Reuben, alright? Because you got a lot of assholes out there, a lot of idiots out there, scoffers, you know, those demonic scoffers out there that come on the comment boards and talk shit, talking about the North American Indians and, well, yeah, niggas that so-called was in the truth and then fell out and fell into that reprobate mind of, the American Indians ain't no damn Israelites. Those are gooks. That's just a reprobate person. Number one.
Yeah. If I may say, basically, like the elder said, that's why these shows ain't even. I mean, you gonna watch it, but you niggas is scoffers. You got demons out there, so you go ahead and continue with your scoffing. But basically, eventually, that's all gonna come to an end, man. All right, and then the Most High is gonna make these things plain. Really, this truth is for the elect right now, man. All right, and we done did shows going into it anyway. And no matter what you guys, like the brother said, you're a reprobate, man. So no matter what comes out, you're gonna constantly scoff. That's all you was created to do, is just fucking scoff. All right, that's all you were created for, man. So you know, we ain't worried about you, but the elect, they getting this knowledge and they being fed, and the Lord is increasing them with their understanding.
You were created to scoff, just so that you could be destroyed.
Exactly.
Okay, that's your judgment. Y'all don't even understand that. Y'all demons. Okay, you're serving your purpose. Like Satan, the spiritual demon Satan, he was set up to be the adversary, and really to test us. Okay, and to do his thing. That's what he was set up to do. Okay, you guys, the scoffers, you're the pawns or the toys of the spiritual demon Satan, set up on earth to fuck with us, to test our faith and our endurance in this truth. Okay, but we're gonna bring out the truth. We're gonna bring out the scriptures anyway for edification's sake, for the elect. Okay, so we're gonna go into proving that the American Indians are the tribes of Gad and Reuben, part of the lost tribes of Israel. They were lost. Why? Because they don't know that they're Israelites, the majority of them, and all you people don't know that they're Israelites. Only a small certain group of people know that. But now we're going to bring out the truth. Okay? You like scripture?
Yes, sir. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 1. It says, "And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days."
Jacob, that was our forefather Jacob, who was the progenitor or the patriarch of the nation of Israel. Okay? Baba Kusha, brother, can you open that front door? That's all right. You can go. Open that door. Okay, he was the patriarch or the progenitor of all of us, because Jacob brought forth sons. Those sons, right, from Jacob's sons, and 2 of his grandsons became the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay? So, we're going to read this. So, Jacob, in the Hebrew, Ya'ikwab, he was a prophet. That proves that Jacob was a prophet. Because the Most High gave Jacob a vision of what was going to take place to his descendants, and that his descendants would grow into a great nation, and what would happen to his descendants in the distant future, man.
Right, and so that's how we're able to identify him with the tribes.
That's right. And Jacob was a so-called black man, so you can understand. A man of color. He wasn't a cracker, like they portray him in all the other biblical characters in these movies. Like that movie that just came out, Noah. They had Russell Crowe playing Noah, which Russell Crowe, we believe, he might be an Israelite. His line might go back to Israel, but he looks like a white man. And all the whole cast, even Ham. Now, even when you go in the Bible dictionary, it's common knowledge that Ham was a so-called black man, right? Even the so-called Christian church, the Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you that.
Yeah.
Right? Because of course everybody else was white. But they'll tell you, my mother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, taught me that when I was a kid. She said, "Oh yeah, Ham was black. Ham was black, and all us people of color, all the people of color, all the black people and the other people of color, we all came out of Ham. We all descendants of Ham." But even they knew Ham was so-called black, right? But in the movie, they had Ham being the damn white boy.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, where did the black people come from? Or people of color? So Jacob was a man of color, okay? And his descendants, or his sons, the children of Israel, or the children of Jacob, were people of color, which would make all the 12 tribes people of color, including the American Indian. All right, read on.
Verse 2. "Gather yourselves together in here, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father."
That's right, because Jacob's name, after Jacob wrestled with an angel, his name was changed to Yasha'Allah, Israel. Okay?
says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might in the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power.
Now, when the producer produces this show, you will have images of Reuben. We're going to have images of Reuben that you folks at home watching this video will see. Okay? You will see pictures and images of the tribe of Reuben. Who was the tribe of Reuben today? The so-called Seminole Indians. Now, you got two Reubenites sitting here in front of you, this brother and myself. We're actually from the tribe of Reuben. Let's deal with Reuben for a hot second. Go back and read that verse again.
Right, it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might in the beginning of my strength.
Yeah, we were the firstborn tribe, actually. Well, our forefather, Reuben, he was the firstborn son of Jacob. He was the oldest, which technically he's supposed to get the birthright, right? But that was changed. And Judah became the one to receive the birthright. Okay, why? Because that's the way the Most High set it up. Okay? Now, Reuben, it says, now let's deal with Reuben. The Reubenites, who are the Reubenites? The Reubenites here in America today, or on the earth today, would be known as so-called Seminole Indians. Now, we're going to go all into the history of that. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis on that. Okay, because that's what we're dealing with. Reuben, in particular Gad, right? We're not going into all the tribes, just Reuben and Gad. Reuben, the people of Reuben today are the so-called, I say so-called, Seminole Indians. Now, you got a lot of assholes out there that'll say, well, really, there's no such thing as Seminole Indians because there's really no such, you can't say that the Seminole Indians are Reuben because there's really no such tribe, because the Seminole Indians are really a comprising of Creek Indians that went down into Florida and mixed with black slaves. See, because you don't really know that that's true. But that's only one part of it. And first of all, you got to go deeper. Like we have, like one of you scoffers made that statement, and I answered you on the comment board, because your ass don't know no history. And first of all, you can't sit there and try to school someone, which that's my people, that's my tribe. So don't you think I know my tribal history? Yes, I do. Okay? First of all, let's deal with what Creeks went to Florida. Okay? The Creek tribe was a large tribe, but there was a division in the Creek tribe, because amongst the so-called 5 civilized tribes, which were the Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and the Seminole, supposedly, right? The Creeks, what the white man had did during Andrew Jackson's Indian removal, or prior to that, let's go prior to Andrew Jackson becoming president, okay? We're going to deal with the United States government, their policy on dealing with the native tribes of the southeast and the northeast, but primarily in the southeast. They said, listen, there was an old saying that the white man had back in those days: kill the Indian, save the man. They said, well, instead of killing these Indians, why not try to colonialize them? Why not try to basically whiteize them, indoctrinate them, get them to give up their so-called savage ways,
so we can use them. Yeah,
in other words, let's try to, well, even though the Bible is really our book, but at that time, the white man had the Bible in his hands.
Well, yeah, so-called.
And he was and he was lying about all the people in the Bible were white. Jesus Christ is a white man. So they were coming to us with their Christianity. They indoctrinated our people with their form of...
Right. If I may say, yeah, those so-called missionaries, which they were all devils, man.
Yeah.
They tried to make it seem like they were for the Native American Indians, which the scriptures tell you. If I may get one scripture, brother.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah.
In the book of, this is the book of Psalms, and this is why our people, the Native American Indians, said that about the so-called white man, that he spoke with a forked tongue. Because like the brother said, when they try to basically, they figure, look, we can convert them over into our way of thinking, basically colonize them, right? Basically, they were hypocrites, man, because they went against everything that they said they were gonna do. Now, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 55, verse. I'm gonna start at 20. It said, "He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant." And that's what they did, because at first Gad was at peace with these devils. All right, and then once they learned everything they could from Gad, that's when they just moved in and conquered them, and they just wanted to conquer them and colonize them, right? And then they said he broken every covenant, because they'll say, look, if we'll make an agreement, we'll offer you protection around here and we leave you alone. If you basically get them get away from your Indian ways and start following the new colonialism, start becoming Christians. All right, and some of them Indians went with that shit.
Yeah, cut your hair, start dressing like white people, and even own slaves.
Yeah.
Because at that time, the way of the Europeans was slavery. Slavery was a way of life. So they even indoctrinated the tribes, and primarily the Cherokee, all of them, the Choctaw, the Creek, to start, okay, instead of living in wigwams or instead of living in long houses or cheeky huts, get rid of that, build you a plantation, okay, and become farmers and start living the ways of the white man. Start sleeping in white man's bed, start wearing suits like the white man, let your women wear dresses like white women, start speaking the white man's language, actually trying to make them into Edomites or so-called white people. That's what they did to our ancestors. And a lot of our ancestors went along with that. You have more on that scripture?
Yeah, come on. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart.
That's right. They came with that peace and all that. Look, the follow our ways, build plantations, even get you some Negroes, which is the tribe of Judah, as slaves.
Yep.
And a lot of Indians did that. They became slave owners.
For some Indians, identifying as native or black has become complicated due to the issue of slavery. For example, Cherokees sometimes enslaved blacks in the early 19th century, not so much out of racism as out of imitation of the southern white planters around them. Eventually, these slaves were freed at the time of emancipation during the Civil War. These Cherokee freedmen discovered that the United States government, under the Dawes Commission, treated them as much less than equal citizens.
A lot of knowledge that's been erased. The fact that freedman was never in my vocabulary, I never heard that in terms of a designation of my family history. My father always talked about being of part Choctaw ancestry, but his father, who died in 1940, my grandfather, was on the roll as a Choctaw freedman. The last person in our family who died, who was on the Dawes rolls, just died this year. She was 94. She was a Choctaw freedman newborn. And when I spoke with her, and whenever I would talk to her, she would always talk about, well, Grandma was Indian, of course, but she never, and I'm part Indian, but she never referred to herself as freedman.
Right, the Cherokee were big-time slave owners, the Choctaw. But then what happened? When Andrew Jackson became president, he said, the hell with y'all. And he brought into law the Indian Removal Act.
Yep.
And they just took all our land, anything. Even all the so-called Indians that did that, right, the white man still said, the hell with y'all. Even though y'all complied with what we said, we still going to take your land. And if you resist, we're going to kill you. So that's prophecy.
That's right.
See, that was prophecy. Why? Because you can never trust the devil.
His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
That's right, meaning the white man made all these treaties, but then they would still come in. You have a so-called peaceful camp with the other tribes out west. You'd have a camp, and supposedly the whites would come in and make a treaty with the chief and the elders, but then a band of soldiers would come in and attack the camp anyway, and they would have a white flag of truce hanging from a lodge pole. But then the army would still come and say, the hell with that flag of truce. Yeah, we know we said we're going to make peace with y'all, but the hell with it. Right now, we're just going to kill y'all. See? So let's go back to the other point of Reuben.
Genesis 49:3. It says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength.
Now, if you know anything about the so-called Seminole Indians, our tribe, we're all about strength and integrity, because there were 3 wars that it took the United States. It took 3 different conflicts for the United States to finally subdue our tribe. Because the Seminole Indians, man, or the tribe of Reuben, they had a don't quit attitude. It cost the United States government millions and millions of dollars, an expenditure of millions of dollars, in order for them to finally subdue the lands of Florida. Okay? With big bad Andrew Jackson at the helm, but he was not able to conquer us. That's why today the Seminole tribe is known as the unconquered. Now, they killed a lot of our people in the wars, and we killed a lot of their people. And it took 3 different skirmishes at 3 different points over many years of them constantly sending soldiers down into Florida. And every time they would send their soldiers down there, we would mess their asses up, because they just couldn't figure out that swamp, and we did. Okay?
Right.
And we would never surrender, and we never signed a treaty. So that proves that the so-called Seminole Indians have the characteristics of Reuben. Strength.
Many generations now, we have suffered. The Washichu we spoke to, but they don't hear, they're deaf. The women, the children, the old ones, they suffer. You from the cities,